Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump, but without the cranky fan. He chose the Knicks tonight, and I can't say that I blame him. But it's time to check in on the pulse of the fan base. It's time for a midseason review, and joining me today is a very special guest from New York Revival, and I will never, ever be as good as Eli at giving introductions. But with me tonight is the one and only Mr. Glass Half Full, Mr. Spiro. Buddy, thank you for joining me when my co-host wouldn't.
Hey, you know, he picked the right choice. The Knicks are up big. I don't blame him for going to Madison Square Garden, man. I love that place. So, but me and you get to chop it up, and thanks for having me, man. It's like I haven't talked to you in a long time. I feel like so it's good to be here.
Yeah, I do think we were just kind of like talking before. I do think the last time, I know for a fact the last time I saw you was in the middle of the season last year, right?
Yes.
I didn't see you at training camp this year at all, right?
No, we missed each other at training camp. I think you caught me while I was slugging back 21 beers for my If the Giants Win challenge for the first home game. I'm pretty sure that was it. And yeah, it was different vibes back then, huh? It was much different vibes than what we're feeling right now. But we're here now. I'm here to talk shop with you. I'm excited. As excited as I can be for a 2-7 football team.
Yeah, right.
But
so wait, you had to sling back 21 beers because the Giants won the week before, right? So and that went well, right? Like you took down all 21, but we were walking into the stadium when I saw you, so you were probably like 15 deep at that point, or less.
Give or take. I was probably around like 12, give or take. Okay. I ended up finishing my 21st. When I got back, later on that night. It was a long day. But I made it through. And I didn't black out even. You know what? It was a successful day. I was feeling great. I think we won the game too. On top of it, I said I had to drink a beer for every point that the Giants scored, and I believe it was the Titans game. So we scored 21 points, and I'm a man of my word. So. Yeah. I did it, man. I did it.
Yeah, you got so screwed. If that were like a Sunday night game, 21 beers is nothing. You could have done that all day, perfect. And then you wouldn't have remembered the game still. But
it was rough when I got in the stadium. I was at like 16, and you could start hearing the slurring in my voice because I had to show a video for every time I slung back a beer. And I was like, number 16. Here we go.
So, yeah, that's how you were feeling then. Why don't you tell me how you're feeling now? This is post-Las Vegas Raiders. This is post-Daniel Jones news. This is Evan Neal on crutches. How you doing? How you feeling?
The vibes, I know my name is Mr. Glass Half Full. It is barely half full at this point, man. It's like I'm slinging back beers in misery now, not happiness. You're trying to get through the weeks. It's going to be a long final 8 games, dude. And we were talking. I had hope, man. I had hope all the way. Even last week, there was a glimmer. I'm like, maybe Daniel Jones is his last stand. Like maybe he'll learn from being on the bench. He'll come back stronger. He'll see what Tyrod did, and he'll be better for it. Like I even had the hope then. And once he went down with the knee injury, I'm just like, all right, now I could cleanse myself of this. I have now no longer get angry over the losses. I've accepted that this season is just cursed. It's lost. Ryan Dunleavy came out with the tweet the other day, like the list of injuries to big time players, and just like us putting these players back when they're not fully healthy, and this and that, and bad coaching decisions. None of this was here last year. And now it's just all crashing down on us, man. Perfect storm type stuff. And it's gonna be a tough sledding for the rest of the team, for Dable going forward for the last 8 games, man. It's gonna be tough to watch. But hey, this is where you learn, you find out where your leaders are, you find out where your core players are, and you find out if these coaches got it, man. Like, because you get coaching these veterans through the last 8 games of the season. That's going to take some balls. It's going to take some guts. You have to keep people in check. Xavier McKinney's already flying off the rails. So good luck, Dable. Good luck.
Someone told me a story one time about a guy. He watched a homeless man take a shit in a McDonald's bag. And then, I thought that was like the punchline too. And then he watched a random person walking by step in the bag.
Oh, Yeah. That sounds
Look,
about right.
the Giants
New York
2023 season, that's how I feel right now. I am that person
to a
walking
T.
by, minding my own business, trying to
Yep.
be happy.
Yep. Just
And
finding a normal day.
the moment I step on that bag is the Cowboys game.
Oh God, it was so early, so early, and that's what you knew, right? Like 40-0.
It
You're like,
wasn't like a heartbreaker. It wasn't. It was
right.
a from the kickoff blowout.
It was well, yeah. It was just like a total letdown, and that's what this whole season's been, right? It's been the epitome of the whole season, a little microcosm of the whole season. That one game is just like a slow death, like the whole time. It's like a train wreck you can see coming from a mile away, and the train wreck finally happened on when Daniel Jones just tore his knee to end everything, right? So like, so it's not like I'm not that angry because we were 2-7. Like it's not like we were like up and down roller coaster season. Some frustrating things happened. We won a game, we lost a game. No, it's been just hit after hit, bad loss after bad loss, bad decision after bad decision. And you kind of just knew, man, 40-0 that first game, the 49ers game. I felt like we were kind of in that one, but like nothing was going right. It just the Bills game, the like just stupid decision after stupid decision. It's been frustrating. It's been angry. Like I've been angry a lot, and now, again, like I said, it's the levels of grief. Now I've moved to acceptance, to where nothing can hurt me now. Nothing can hurt me. My heart's already broken. Now I'm looking. I'm like looking towards the future. Like, what can Dable do? Can Dable coach? It's weird because I want Dable to coach a couple wins out of this group, just to know that he's still like he's still got it. But at the same time, every win now is kind of detrimental to what the long term goal is to find that next guy. And we'll get into the Daniel Jones talk, but like, what better way? I liken it to, and I'm not sure. I don't know how old you are, but like I don't know if you remember the Tim Duncan's season where he got drafted. David Robinson went down 6 games into the season. Popovich was right there, and it was just like that perfect, like the Spurs are bad at the perfect time to get Tim Duncan and pair him up a Pop, and everything just fell into place after that. And you just hope that we were bad at the we've been bad for a long time, but hopefully this is the right season.
This is the one.
This is the one, because we weren't bad in the Herbert season. We just like missed out on a couple other guys. Like hopefully this is the one where Caleb or Drake, whatever your guy is, hopefully this is the one that we are bad for, that we get our franchise guy finally. And end this quarterback talk, because I was talking about it with my guys on my podcast, like going back to the Phil Simms days, to the Eli Manning days, to the Daniel Jones days. We've always had like decent quarterbacks, and you can think of whatever you think about Daniel Jones, but like our fan base has always been split on every single quarterback that we have, even when they're winning, losing, indifferent. Like we have never been aligned because we never really had a top three, no doubt, like Mahomes-ish, Herbert-ish, Josh Allen-ish kind of guy, to where we could all align on and just be like, all right, this guy's good. We all know he's good. Let's talk about something else. And I hope we can finally get that guy that can galvanize this tortured fan base of ours, where we just go to Twitter war every single day.
That is living up to your name, man. That is Mr. Half Full way to close that out.
I'm trying. I'm grasping at straws here.
No, but I follow you. It's sort of like, I forget the team. There was a team that fell apart, and then they just kind of like tanked. The Andrew Luck Jr. year.
Yes.
And then he didn't come out.
Yep.
But
I forget who it was though. You're right.
I don't remember who it was, but some team fell.
I
want to say it might have been like Kansas City or something like that. But so you mentioned the coaching like multiple times. I want to know, like, so we're right here at the mid section of the season, as middle as you can make an odd numbered game season. Everyone listening to this knows the deal with like the players, but I want to know what you think. Like, so let's just start with from top down. Let's start with Dable. Overall, through the summer and then into this year, how have you felt?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm still on the Dable train, man. Like, I still dad for Dable, man. Like, I think he's still my guy. There's been some like little chinks in the armor right now, like throughout the season, that kind of have pissed me off. And I don't blame the Bills game, the time management thing on him. I think that a veteran like Tyrod Taylor knew that there's always a run pass play call, and he changed the run. And there's been blowups on the sideline, but there's blowups on the sideline last year. Like, he's a fiery guy. This is Dable. There's been some time management things that have annoyed me, slight things here and there, but you know, I still believe that he is the guy. And he is the person that is going to lead us out of this. He's still the coach of the year that was there last year. I just think everything around him has gone, fallen apart, gone to shit. So like, I'm still riding with Dable, and I think that when he took over play calling, things kind of got better with Tyrod for a second there. And I do wonder if he's going to just take that and stay with it going forward. Because I would like that to be the case. He is a play caller. He was good at it in Buffalo. He was good at it here. So I hope he stays with that. I still ride with Dable, man. He's still my guy.
All right, so
yeah.
well, I'd rather let's veer towards Mike Kafka, since you mentioned all that stuff.
Yeah. So I think Kafka. I think he's a smart guy. I think Kafka's a very smart guy. Passing game coordinator. He will create plays. He's creative. I don't know if he's a great play caller yet, to be honest with you. I feel like sometimes he just doesn't have the pulse of the game, and he doesn't have a good feel. And maybe that comes over time, but like, it's been now a year and a half.
Well, let me ask you, when you say that, that's an interesting way. Do you feel like he lacks some kind of urgency?
Yeah,
no, that's how 100%. I feel. I also feel like I feel like they come into it with a set game plan, and I might not always agree with that, and that's fine. But I feel like every football game, right? And hang with me here. Every football game has that moment where you have to pivot, and it feels like we make that pivot point coming out of halftime every single time. Like, why are we waiting that fucking long, right?
Right, 100%. And that was my number one. It just took so long, even last year, to get out of the gates. Like, the offense feel like it didn't start going until later on in the season. Like, from a season standpoint, it took a long time. In game, it takes a long time. His adjustments. He's a smart guy, but he doesn't have that feel, And then I think we're in agreement there. Like go for the throat, and like call a deep bomb when it's there. Surprise people, like do something off the cuff. And Dable, I think, has that, whereas Kafka doesn't. And I also think Kafka's not going to be here next year, in my opinion. I think the Northwestern job is still kind of open for him.
Right. I was going to say, you definitely think it's Northwestern, not another NFL job, right?
No, I don't think NFL. I think Northwest. It's Northwestern, or he's back here. That's the way I see it. I don't think he's done enough to garner another coaching position. Like, he's not going to get a promotion off of what he's done here this year. Last year maybe, but this year he's kind of like falling back. I think it's Northwestern or bust for Kafka, and I want to see more out of him. I think he's very smart. He's part of the game plan, but man, he's not aggressive enough, in my opinion.
The Northwestern job is going to be interesting because, in my opinion, everything you said, I think I agree with, and I think it just comes down to just being inexperienced. He's super young. He's only like a year older than me or something like that.
For sure. Absolutely.
And what's interesting is that I agree with you. I do think that Northwestern is probably his destination next year, and if it's not that, it's staying here, or maybe he's just, they just split ways. But
right.
Going to Northwestern comes with this whole other element of he's never been anything more than an offensive coordinator. Now he's got to be a head coach and do recruiting at a school that has an extreme academic standard in the Big Ten. That's going to be really, really difficult, and he's going to come in there with the bravado and like to live up to some standard I don't think he's going to be able to live up to.
You might not be wrong on that. You might not be wrong. I was connecting dots, obviously, because it seemed obvious, but it's going to be a massive undertaking. I think, in hearing him speak and talk in press conferences, I think he's a very well-spoken, very smart guy. I think he could handle it. He is very green, though, like you said, like that. I don't know if he's got the chops to, he better bring some NFL coaches with him, or some talented older dudes to help him recruit, help him get through, like on a defensive side, especially. It would, like an AP kind of guy, like Herm Edwards at Arizona State, but like, I don't know. You're right. It might be a little too early for him, but from a program that's starting from scratch and like for starting from what the downfall was, like the bad stuff that happened over there, what better guy to bring in than like you're one of your own, a former NFL guy, to kind of like rally the troops. I think that's the way I see it. So I don't know. Could be wrong.
No, I agree with you.
I get it might be too early though. You're right.
And let's talk a little bit about Wink Martindale. His defense been his, I would say, is the more interesting thing to talk about because it's been all over the place this year. So what do you think? What have you been feeling about Wink this year versus last year?
Wink, he's dealing with a very young secondary, young defense in general in a lot of spots. They were coming into their own, obviously, before the Raiders game. I truly think that this defense was going to be fine going forward. And had they kept Leonard Williams, I think that they would have been a very good defense the whole way through. Now it's almost like you took the air out of the sails when DJ went down. When DJ went back into the game, I feel like the team rallied around Tyrod, and for better or worse, I feel like they played tougher. They played a little bit more. They had a little more pep in their step. Defense was playing more aggressive, but now that once DJ came in, they saw the same kind of thing, and almost like you saw them just get deflated right away. And now you have McKinney saying stuff about and that was directed, I feel like, directly at Wink, because he was saying we're seeing things, and I'm telling who would he be telling, obviously, other than Wink, that he wanted to change some stuff up, and he wasn't being heard. Clearly, McKinney and Wink have never been on the same page. I feel like since day one, they took the green dot away from him, kind of took some leadership ability away from him, like made him do less things around the football field. And they've been at odds, I feel like, since day one. And now it's coming to a head because there's no contract. He feels like his foot's out the door already. And he's talking a lot of shit. And to me, it's rubbing me the wrong way. I am, again, still Wink. I'm on Wink's team. He's my tank commander, man. I ride or die with Wink. I think he's gotten what we're seeing out of Kayvon is great. What we're seeing out of Dex is great. Okereke, McFadden, Banks. There's a lot of young players doing very well, and I just like that. I do like that it's just McKinney that's saying this. It seems like a guy that's already had his foot out the door, and nobody else is kind of like backing him. So it's like, all right, you're out on your own here. You go do your thing. You're probably not part of the plan next year. But I think Wink's still a guy, and he's a lifer. I think he's a defensive coordinator lifer for from now till whenever. I don't see him getting a head coaching job, so I see him back, part of the answer, not part of the problem.
So I think that's interesting. I think based on my assessment of the defense this year is that so they've had issues getting things started this year. They started the Dallas game was a total wash from front to back. It was playing in pouring rain and it sucked. Right. The Arizona game, first two quarters were a goddamn mess. But they've been the aspect of the team that's been keeping them even remotely competitive, right? I mean,
sure.
Yeah, they rallied around Tyrod and he moved the offense better, and no one's going to debate that, but he didn't move it well.
Well, yeah, right.
They're also far more healthy than the offense has been. But even with a rookie corner, like you said, they're a really young secondary. It's a really young team. It's a really young 53-man roster, but they've not looked really bad outside. Their worst games were that 49ers game, which also was a short week. And really,
they played tough that game too.
I agree, man. So you said that you thought that they were somewhat in. I agree with you. I think that they were somewhat in that game. And if you take out the missed tackling, you could say that had it not been for the offense, they could have actually won that game. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I do think that they were in that. And also the 49ers are just really good. It's okay to look like shit against a good team time to time.
That was a healthy 49ers team at the time too.
And Vegas. I think Vegas was the other game they looked really bad. And I think that they just gave up. I don't think that they actively gave up, but I think that there was, I agree with you. I think there was a trickle of events starting with the Leonard Williams trade. And then, and I'm not saying I disagree with any of these things. I do think that there is a cause and effect, though, and there's pros and cons to doing things. I think that the cascade of events from Leonard Williams being traded to Daniel Jones' first three throws looking like a child threw them, and then after that he tore his ACL. I mean, at that point, I think everyone had the exact same feeling. Everyone this is well,
and what are we gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. I don't. Nothing that Xavier McKinney said sits well with me. I do know that it's also like a two-line thing he said in a very long,
For sure.
quote. But
Yes.
I agree with you. It's not the first stupid thing he said, and he is
Hmm.
supposed to be a captain.
Right.
I don't really. I said this on my show before. Like Evan Neal had that stupid quote earlier this year. I can almost forgive Evan Neal because he's a second-year player. I hate
Right.
that question too. Like this dude has just had a universally a casual someone who does my mother could watch that game and be like, I don't think he played very well.
Yes.
Everyone knows. Why are you asking him how he feels? We know how he feels, dude. I can see it on his face. Like I don't
Yeah.
need him to answer that, but he's also a
100%.
trained professional, whatever. But Xavier McKinney is a step above that. He's a captain. He's supposed to be the Eli Manning at the microphone, blaming himself first,
Hmm.
and then everyone else
Hmm.
gets a pass. I understand he's trying to communicate things. I think he also realized he said something stupid and was walking it back. But I agree with you. I think that the green dot thing is definitely a thing. I think that he's a I think that he can work in Wink's defense, but I think that he's a much more solid and comfortable fit in something like Patrick Graham's defense.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not saying he's not a fit, but I do think
No,
that
I know what you mean.
he himself felt more comfortable in that kind of scheme where it was more
Hmm.
opportunistic and it was more too high and that sort of
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
Um, I'm. What did you think of the Williams trade? I'm actually interested in.
I think that was a very smart move. A very smart move for a guy. It was expiring contract. A guy that still he had production on his tape this year. I think if they had a chance to really trade Adoree, they would have done it with Adoree, but nobody was interested. Adoree, I gotta be honest with you, has been one of the most disappointing players on this year's team for me, man. I thought he had at least one more good year left. He's been fairly healthy all season, and it feels like every game he's the one that's getting picked on. Not our rookie Tay Banks, but Adoree Jackson. So I think that people with saw his salary and backed away from him. But like I think if they tried to probably trade him too. So I think ultimately the Leo trade, getting a second and a fifth, and I know you're paying down his salary to get that second. Smart move, man. Smart move for a team that might be needing that second to trade up. Especially in this situation. I think we what did we were pissed when Gettleman traded a third and a fifth for him.
That's right.
How many years ago?
Well,
4 years
so there's a
ago when he
money
was in the
element in
prime.
here too, right? So
Yeah,
like obviously
yeah,
the picks, well, not obviously. I'm glad we're in agreement there that this was the right
yeah,
move, but they did have to eat a lot of the contract
for
for
sure.
this. But I still think that's the right move, right? I mean, the
It was
money is
lost money anyway.
temporary, yes.
Right. Right.
Everyone just saw my Zoom warning that we've got about 10 minutes remaining here. So, but we did cover everything on defense that I wanted to talk about. On
Yeah.
offense, we talked a lot about the coaching, and I do think that injuries and scheme comprise a majority of our offensive woes this year. I think
Right.
a third aspect that people don't want to recognize or acknowledge, because it sounds like an excuse, but this is also year two of a rebuild. In my
Yes.
opinion here, now I want to know your thoughts on this. There are two
Mhm.
things else that happened. Daniel Jones clearly regressed, and in my opinion, it started with pocket movement.
Yes.
I think that they took an approach this offseason that their first step in improving the team, and this could be based on what happened last year or just the philosophy. I'm not going to make that
Hmm.
judgment, but it was to get weapons. There wasn't enough money or draft picks to get weapons and O-line depth. So they chose weapons. And the worst series of events happened after that. The only thing that
Yeah.
couldn't happen after that happened. I don't know. How do you feel? Is there some other aspect that you think I'm missing between, some of the play calling and so on from there?
No, listen, you nailed it. Kind of. Andrew Thomas we couldn't afford to lose Andrew Thomas, and we couldn't. The second guy we couldn't afford to lose was Saquon Barkley, and I was all for how they treated the Saquon Barkley thing. I don't think
Me
in
too.
a long-term scheme you should be focusing around a running back long term. And I think they're trying to move away from that by getting these playmakers, by getting the Wallers, the Paris Campbells. You had Wandell coming back, but you lost a guy in Andrew Thomas that you could not afford to lose on a questionable offensive line. Then you lose your rookie center who was playing okay. Neal's had his issues; he's not gotten better at all, and that all factors into the scheme, man. Like, because again, at the beginning of last year, we couldn't do anything, but our offensive line got to the point where at least it was serviceable. and we started catching guys off guard with our scheming short throws, bootleg, and the tape was out on that. Now you can't run that same offense back year two. So everybody's pressing up. Nobody's getting fooled by anything. Daniel Jones the offensive line is way worse. Daniel Jones is not fooling anybody on these runs. It was just a perfect storm of bad stuff that happened, and then now you have Waller out, you had Barkley out. Nobody was on really the same page, and it just listen. You also faced one of the 2 out of 3 best defenses with Dallas and 49ers, right out of the gate. And that kind of just blew up everything. And then, when Andrew Thomas goes down, it just all snowballed.
I do think that, yeah, I think you're right. I think another thing is that I think there's some sort of shock factor. Like, I think that
they were so blown out of the water.
I think that if the Dallas game was, let's just say it didn't rain that day, and that game was something like 40 to, let's even be modest, let's just say 40 to 20. Not a close game, but like they scored points, let's say for one half of football it was close. I don't think that those first 2 quarters in Arizona go the same way. Right? I
agree.
And I think because you have the 6 straight quarters in reality, I think that, and then that just pours right into San Francisco on a 100%. Short week. I think it all fell apart. But, I mean, I don't want to make excuses.
No, they're bad. They're still bad.
They're bad.
I even think like that it all came off that first drive. Like literally, if Gano hits that field goal, there's different vibes in the whole game. Like it just, from that moment on, it just snowballed everything, and even into the Seattle game. And then I feel like they started to turn it around slightly. The Miami game,
I agree.
Getting some better vibes back. They started throwing the ball down the field a little bit more. Then Daniel Jones gets hurt,
right?
And then you have to start fresh with Tyrod, and he starts getting a little juice going. Then he gets hurt in the Jets game. It's just like they couldn't gain any traction, and it just snowballed to the point to the Raiders game. At this point, now it's just, but it was just bad. Daniel Jones was seeing ghosts, and I think that was his biggest issue. Like his internal clock was literally like 1 second.
Yeah,
he had no trust in that line, and he's double pump, and it exasperated everything because every time there's an open play, he was dodging out of the pocket early. And it just all worked off each other. We got on him for every miss, but like he was getting killed every play, so it kind of like worked off each other. So,
but there was clearly a regression there because 100%. the one thing that you could have said coming out of college and was a continuing theme about Daniel Jones, his internal clock was too slow for a long time. He was not feeling pressure. He was fumbling. Yeah. Yep. So really quickly, because I don't think that this is going to need a big talk. Special teams.
Fire McGahee.
All right.
Into the sun, bro. Into the sun. They got to start completely fresh in that unit. I mean, Gano is hurt. Bring back Gano. Only saw. You know what? Sorry. I was 100% wrong on Jamie Gunn. Like, 100% wrong. I wanted him out. I had him dead and buried. And I'll be honest, he's probably been one of my most surprising Giants this year. He's punted way better than I seen him do his whole career so far. So the one shining,
the specialists themselves.
Yeah, right. I'm so shocked that again, Gano back, and Jamie Gillen is a part of this future. I think now it's funny to say that because I had him off the team, so good for him. At least
that's interesting. So I mean, I'm with you on McGahee, and I know that they feel he's respected or whatever, but I do think that he's been here for like a million years. At a certain point, I mean, look, in Denver they fired Mike Shanahan, and they just straight up said, listen, we just need a change of scenery. He went to Washington and absolutely failed. Part of that's Washington, part of that's Daniel Snyder, but I think that some of it is just that Mike Shanahan got old. And like the whole
At one point you need to shake up. They did it. You don't even have to go into Shanahan. They did it with Tom Coughlin.
Absolutely.
Like, at some point you just need to shake it up because it's not working after so many years. 3 years is, I think, a great time frame to like expect some results in. And if you're not getting results at all in that time frame, it's time to make a move, man. Yeah. But it sucks now. We've had Tom Quinn, we have McGahee. Can we get a good fucking special teams coordinator in here?
There's got to be a creative mind out there. It can't just be. Yeah, I mean,
And find a new offensive line coach while you're at it too. That's another one.
I think
Done
I
with
think
Bobby
everyone
J.
I think everyone's agreeing with you there.
That's a huge, huge one.
All right. I super duper appreciate you coming on, man, and thanks for dealing with the time constraints of my poor ass not paying for Zoom.
Hey, I'm with you, my man. I'm with you. I hear you, man.
Why don't you plug
Fucking
your
economy, huh?
We got about a minute and a half. Why don't you plug your show?
Yeah, man. Well, so we at New York Revival, me, Eli, and Jeff, El Jefe, and Vibes. We do a show every Tuesday night, 8:30. We have guests on. We have fun. We poke fun at the Giants. We do all New York sports. Jets involved, Rangers, Knicks, Yankees, Mets. You know it. You know we like to have fun too. We do entertainment. So we love for you guys to come through and drink beers with us, have fun, and we're gonna make light of this end of the season because we need to find something to be happy about. So we're gonna bring the laughs and bring some jokes and have that bar vibe. That's what we bring. So join us 8:30 Tuesday nights, man. We'd like to see everybody there, especially you. Get your ass over there to our show. Get on there so we can have you on and shoot the shit, man. I miss you.
Hell yeah, man! Absolutely. I will. I'll just jump on, and if you guys want to throw me on in the moment,
Absolutely.
I'll jump on even. But
Absolutely.
thank you so much
yours,
for
man.
joining, man. Thank you so much for joining. It was great talking to you. Hopefully, next time we do this, it will be under better circumstances.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Maybe we do a live show one of these times because
Hell yeah.
we always have fun.
I'm into it. All
All
right.
right, buddy.
See you guys later.